Hello students, myself Dr. Sujata Magdum, Assistant Professor in Zoology, KTHM College, Nashik. Today I'll be dealing with Immunology for MSc Part 2 students, and in this I'll be talking about complement fixation and complement fixation test. In the previous lecture, we have seen the basics of immunotechnique. One of the important immunotechnique which was earlier used is complement fixation test. So today's topic of discussion is complement fixation and its significance. You know that antigens, they react with antibodies. Antibodies, these are glycoproteins by nature. These complement system, they are composed of 20 different types of glycoproteins which are basically produced by hepatocytes, monocytes, macrophages, epithelial cells of gastrointestinal or urinogenital tract. Now these different glycoproteins which are seen present into the serum, basically they are inactive form and are called as zymogens or proenzymes. These zymogens or proenzymes, they form an important component of both innate as well as acquired immunity. The complement activation, basically it occurs by three main pathways, namely classical pathway, alternative pathway, lecithin pathway, or it is also called as mannose binding lectin pathway. Now let us begin with the first, that is classical pathway. Before we begin with the classical pathway, you need to understand that in earlier lecture I have said that these complements, they are seen present in 20 numbers and they are numbered from C1 to C9. Now why they are 20, and as I said they are from C1 to C9, indicating that some of them, they act as the factors which are labeled by alphabets. Now 1, 2, 3, 4 or 9, it indicates the time of their discovery, or we can say the significant feature when it was discovered, or the course of discovery, you can say. Now this classical pathway basically is useful as it activates through antigen antibody complex formation, and it involves five different types of complements, that is C1, C4, C2, C3 and C5. Now C1 factor or C1 complement, it is the more prominent one and is a complex structure composing of C1q, two molecules of C1r and two molecules of C1s. Therefore, it is written as C1qr2s2, where 2 is representing the number of molecules which are seen in association with one another. Now here you can see the picture of C1 complex. C1q is composed of stalk and it shows a head region which is knob-like in the anterior side. So this is actually the hexameric structure which is linked together, and this C1q is always seen in association with two molecules of C1s and C1r. Now here you can see the two spheres which are grey in color and two are seen in dark color, indicating two different molecules. Now this is first molecule of C1s, this is second molecule of C1s. In the same way, this is the first molecule of C1r and this is second molecule of C1r. Now this C1s and C1r, they are always seen in association with one another and it gives rise to the 8 figure. Now when it is seen in the figure number 8 like structure, it is the active form, and this 8 figure is always seen in link with the knobs of the C1. So now the complete complex, here you can see association of C1 which includes the stalk and the knob along with two molecules of C1r and two molecules of C1s. Now this is the active form of C1 complex, you can say. Now how does it work? Let us assume there is presence of an antigen. Now this antigen, it shows presence of large number of epitope. You know epitopes, these are the binding sites of the antigen. Now these binding sites, which are called as epitope, they have the affinity to bind with the antigen because there is specific relation between the structure of the epitope to that of the binding site of the antigen. Now let us consider this Y-shaped structure is an antigen. You know that the upper end, the free end, is the antigen binding site. Now this antigen binding site has the ability to bind with the epitope. The antigen binding sites of antibodies, they are also called as paratopes, which will be seen binding with the epitope. Now let us consider this Y-shaped structure as an immunoglobulin G. Now once the immunoglobulin G binds with the antigen, obviously its antigen binding sites, they are occupied with the antigen. So what is left out is the Fc region. This Fc region is important because it gives the site for binding of C1. So the C1, which is in active form, it will be seen binding with the Fc region of antibody. So here you can make out what I mean to say. There is an antigen which will be having epitopes binded with the antibody, and the free end, that is the Fc fragment of the antibody, is linked with the C1, that is the knobs of the C1 stalk. They will be seen binding with the Fc region of antibody. This is seen when we are talking about IgG, indicating that for binding of this C1, there should be association of minimum 2 IgG molecule. What about the other antibodies? There are different types of antibodies like IgA, IgM, IgD, IgE and IgG. So only IgG and IgM, it can participate in bringing out the action which is called as classical pathway, right? Now here, as I have mentioned about IgG, this is the binding process which is seen specifically only for IgG. Now if I want to talk with reference to IgM, now IgM is a pentameric molecule. Now this structure you can see is the IgM molecule. This IgM, when it is seen binded with the membrane, if it is seen in the soluble condition, then the complex C1 will neither be showing its interaction with this IgM. So IgM should be seen bounded with the membrane. So it is a membrane molecule or membrane antibody, you can say. So C1, it will be binding to the Fc once again. Now which is Fc? These are the Fc region of the IgM. You can see the green structures. Green are the antibodies. Let us say these are the antibodies. When antibodies binds with immunoglobulin or IgG or IgM or antibodies, that time it will attract the C1 complex. Now C1 will be seen binding with the Fc region, and this binding is clearly shown in this picture. Here it is with reference to IgG molecule, whereas this picture is defining the conformational change which is brought by binding of the C1 with that of the IgM molecule, right? So once the C1, it binds with the IgM, there is conformational change seen into the structure of this IgM because it will be slightly raised. You all know that there is interaction between the binding property of the knobs with that of the Fc region. As a result of which, here you can see that the Y-shaped structure, it has changed its conformation. Here it is seen in free condition or spread way, whereas here you can make out the change in the configuration of the IgM molecule, right? That means the molecule will now participate in the biological activity. So the binding of C1 is always seen associated with the antigen bound IgM or antigen bound IgG. If the IgG is seen in the soluble condition, and even if there is presence of C1, you cannot see binding of C1 with IgG, and same holds true with the IgM molecule. So what is essential is the IgM molecule or the IgG molecule, it should always be seen associated with antigen. Here you can say that IgM is seen associated with antigen and is seen present onto the surface of the cell. Same is the case with the IgG molecule also. Now let us see the process. Once the C1 is seen binded with IgG. Now here this picture, what does it indicate? It is showing you the binding of IgG molecule Fc region with the C1. So once the C1 is binded with IgG, it will bring about certain changes. That is, the Ig1Q of the C1 complex, it will activate R2 and S2. So activation of S2 will help in cleaving of two of the complement, that is C4 and C2. The first cleavage is seen with reference to C4, which gets broken down into, or it gets cleaved into a larger molecule, that is C4A, and a larger molecule C4B, and a smaller molecule as C4A. In the same way, cleaving of C2 will give rise to formation of a smaller molecule C2B and a larger molecule C2A. Now, the C2A and C4B, it will be seen linked together, resulting into formation of C3, and this is called as C3 convertase. That is C4B2A bar. You know, in the earlier lecture I said it will be defining the name of an enzyme. So now C3 convertase will be formed. Now this C3 convertase, it will bring about cleavage in the molecule, that is C3, and that this C3 will get converted into C3B as a larger fragment and C3A as a smaller fragment. The smaller fragment, it will be freely suspended, or it goes into the solution. That means it is free, and C3B, it gets binded with the convertase enzyme, that is C3. Therefore, now C3 will have C4B2A, and it will also have combination of C3B with it. Therefore, now it will form a new enzyme which is called as C5 convertase. Now this C5 convertase, it will be useful in bringing about association of C6 and C7 complements. When C6 and C7 comes in association with the C5 convertase, then it results into formation of a membrane complex which will be seen attaching or adhering itself to the membrane of the cell, which shows presence of antigen. And now attachment of C5b, 6, 7 and 8 will help in adding about large number of C9 molecules to it. As a result, there is formation of poly C9 like structure encircling the C5, 6, 7 and 9, and this is called as membrane attack complex. Now this membrane attack complex, it brings about formation of transmembrane pores into the infected cell, and as a result of which porosis, or you can say cell lysis, will come into action. Now here, whatever I have shown into the previous slide, I have tried to club together and show you into the same structure. Let us have a glance. Now we said that the blue structures, these are IgG molecule. The gray brownish, you can say, is also IgG molecule. Now IgG antibodies, they are seen associated with the antigens. These are antigens. Now when IgG molecule is seen in association with IgG with antigen, that time it will attract the C1 complex. This C1 complex is made up of C1, Q, R2 and S2. Now C1 Q, it will activate the S2 and bring about splitting of C4 and C2. So C4 will cleave into C4A and C4B. C4A is smaller component, C4B is a larger component. So the smaller component, it will be released free. In the same manner, when there is cleavage of C2 is observed, C2 will get cleaved into C2A and C2B. Here, the C2B is the smaller component and C2A is a larger component. So, both the larger component of the cleaved C4 and C2, that is C4B and C2A, they will be retained, which binds together to give rise to formation of an enzyme, active enzyme, which is called as C3 convertase. Now this C3 convertase will enable the cleaving of the next complement, which is called as C3. Now C3 will get cleaved into C3A and C3B. C3B is larger component, C3A is smaller. So smaller C3A component or the fragment, it will be released as it is, whereas this C3B, it will get associated with the C3 convertase, which is composed of C4B and 2A, resulting into formation of the next active enzyme, which is called as C5 convertase, consisting of C4A, C2, C3B, and therefore now this will attract the large number of molecules like the C6, C7, C8, and these are all helping in binding with itself to the antigens infected cells. And later this complex will lead to attracting large number of C9, which results into formation of membrane attack complex, and these membrane attack complex will bring about lesions or formation of pore, which is responsible for the lysis of the targeted cell, right? Now the second one is alternative pathway. Now in case of alternative pathway, here also you can say it depends on antibody for its activation, like what we have seen with reference to the classical pathway, and it begins in most of the cell surface constituent that are foreign to the cells. Now here the process is all the same, wherein you can say C3 is fragmented into the larger component C3B and C3A. C3A is the smaller fragment, it will be released as it is, whereas C3B, it will attract the factor B and get associated with factor B. Later, the factor B will help in activating factor D, which will help in release of the inactive part of factor D, and therefore it will attract the properdin. This properdin will help in cleaving the C3 into two components, that is C3B and C3A. So C3B is always seen in association and it will be useful in activating or forming the C5 convertase, which brings about the membrane attack complex, which we have seen in the classical pathway. The third one is lectin pathway. In case of lectin pathway, here you have to remember that this is not dependent on the antibody for its activity. Then it originates with the host protein, that is called as MBL. M refers to mannose, B refers to binding, L refers to lectin. So it is the host binding protein, which is nothing but the microbial surfaces. So MBL is an acute phase protein which helps in binding with the mannose residue or to certain other sugar molecules, and like C1Q, it is also 2 to 6 headed molecule that forms the complex with two protease zymogens, which are called as MASP1 and MASP2. These are the zymogens. When I say zymogens, what does it mean? It means that they are inactive form. Binding of MBL complex to the pathogen activates MASP2 to cleave C4 and C2, and the same sequence it goes on as we have discussed with reference to the classical pathway. So C3 convertase is formed by the association of C2A and C4B, and the rest of the process is all the same. So why is it called as lectin pathway? Because here actually the binding is not with reference to the antibody, but here the proteins of the host cell are responsible to bring about the activation of zymogen. That is why it is called as lectin pathway, or it is another type of pathway. So what are the consequences of these complement system? It helps in causing the cell lysis. It causes inflammatory responses. It brings about opsonization. It causes viral neutralization by solubilizing and clearing of the immune complexes, that is antigen antibody complexes are also observed. So what if there is deficiency of complement system? It results into certain kind of disorders which could be hereditary or it could be seen developed in the lifetime. So if the deficiency is seen with reference to C1, C2, C4, it causes predisposition of SLE, wherein the deficiency results in increased precipitation into the tissue and inflammation. So there is always seen swelling into the body. Whereas if it is deficiency is with reference to C1 and H, then it results into hereditary angioedema, wherein you can see overproduction of C2B, that is prokinin. If with reference to alternative pathway, we can say that deficiency in factor B and D results into lack of sufficient opsonization. If there is some deformation seen with reference to C3, it also causes lack of opsonization and inability to utilize the membrane attack pathway. The disorders related to C5, C6, C7, 8 and 9 leads to inability to attack the outer membrane of gram-negative bacteria. Further, propidin or the X-linked disorder is seen which leads to lack of opsonization in bacteria, and deficiency in factor H or I causes uncontrolled activation of C3 via alternate pathway, resulting into depletion of C3. So what is complement fixation test? This complement fixation test is actually useful in detecting the antibodies in the patient's serum that are capable of fixing with complements. Hence it was once upon a time very popular, but now it has become obsolete because there are new techniques which have come into use. Now this complement fixation test was used to identify the syphilis by the test which is called as Wassermann's test. Was also widely useful for detecting the complement fixing antibodies in rickettsia or certain other diseases like mycoplasma infection and some viral infections such as arbovirus, rabies, etc. Complements are also used for various serological tests other than CFT, such as the Sabin-Friedman dye test for toxoplasm, then vibriocidal antibody test. Now, with this, we have finished with the complement system and complement fixation test. Thank you.